Don't
in BC.
do it.
Yeah, how come?
What do you think?
You tell me.
It encourages them to do more.
Yeah, are you seeing that happen here?
Seen it.
Yeah.
It's exploded.
Has it, eh?
And it's gotten cheaper.
So what is going on here? Well, this is part of this whole problem here. Naive Oregon voters regret legalizing drugs legal after addicts litter streets, report. Yeah, they don't know how to write a title. I mean, this title is garbage. What is this? This is The Messenger, okay? So making drugs legal in Oregon has proven to be a fool's errand. I could have told you that. Never been to Oregon. Well, actually, that's not true. What am I thinking? I stayed in Oregon for a while with a girl. Shout out to Christina, wherever you are now. Last I heard, you were pregnant and moving in with some guy. I hope everything worked out for you. Anyway, we're going to get into this article, but before we do, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed because YouTube doesn't subscribe people every single day. You can find me over on X and on Rumble. Let's dive into this article. Instead of arresting folks for drug possession and use, officers issue tickets with the number of a rehabilitation center. A majority of Oregon voters decided to decriminalize hard drugs like fentanyl and meth in 2020. Now some regret the decision as drug paraphernalia and addicts remain a problem. Yeah, what did you think was going to happen to them? 58% of Oregon residents voted for the decriminalization of hard drugs, Measure 10. I thought it was Measure 110. Well, we'll look at a video in a little bit here, and it will have, I think, the information more accurately than this does, hoping it would be the catalyst for a nationwide relaxation of drug laws. Why would you want that? I mean, seriously, you have to be really daft to think that this decriminalization of drugs will work in the United States. When I was a young man, I was all for it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know, it's been done in Portugal. We can do it here in the United States. It'll be a public health issue, not a crime issue. We're going to return back to my opinion on that subject matter in more detail later. The legislation has officers issue tickets with a number of a rehabilitation center instead of making arrests for drug possession. Most of the time, however, the tickets are just tossed out. Oregon police officer Jose Alvarez told the Wall Street Journal. Those tickets, frankly, seemed like a waste of time, Alvarez told the outlet. He shared that he stopped issuing them a few months after the law was enacted. Yeah. What are you going to do? Track down these junkies who have nothing and be like, you owe us $500 because we've given you 5 tickets. Like, dude, I have like $500 a month that I use for my drugs. I'm not giving it to you. That's for sure. Probably don't even have $500 a month, honestly. Probably have $50 a month that they use for their drugs. In Oregon's most populous cities, Portland and Eugene, some business owners and local leaders are unhappy with the results of the measure, but so are some liberal voters who were highly in favor of the initiative, according to the Journal. Michelle Lowe, a 56-year-old bookstore clerk in Eugene, told the outlet she voted for the measure with high hopes that it could make the state's drug laws more like those of the Netherlands, just what we need. But as she watches public drug use continue to prosper in the city of 175,000, she worries she made the wrong choice. You think you made the wrong choice? Guess what? You don't need to worry about it, sweetheart. I can tell you right now, you made the wrong choice. There is constant problems all over town. It doesn't matter where you live, with people strung out on drugs. Lowe, who described herself as a communist, oh, you mean idiot, told the outlet, I pride myself on being a bit cynical, but obviously I was very naive. Yeah, well, being a communist would make you that way. The notion of communism, I mean, it sounds great on paper, but there's no incentive to do anything. So what you want to do is just, give all these people a free ride on whose dollar. They're not producing anything. You know what would happen to them in a real communist country? The Gulag. Yeah, I mean, drug addicts were punished severely if they were caught. Ineffective results. According to the Wall Street Journal, nearly 6,000 tickets have been issued for drug possession since decriminalization went into effect in 2021. Data obtained by the outlet reveals that only 92 people have called the hotline and completed assessments needed to connect them to services. That's 1.5%. I've also seen it listed as 1% and as 2%. I've not seen it higher than 2%. So that's a really small percentage. And again, it's like I said, what are you going to do? Enforce these tickets on these people? What incentive do they have to stop? What incentive do they have to get rehabilitation? This is what they want to do. They're doing this by choice. They're not doing this because they can't stop. They're doing it because they want to do it. Some law enforcement and researchers contend that the initiative isn't effective because the threat of jail time hasn't been replaced with an incentive to seek treatment. Officers told the outlet that the only penalty for those who receive tickets is a $100 fine, which is seldom enforced. Right, you can't enforce it. It was not a crazy thing to try at all, but I think they misunderstood addiction. Keith Humphreys, a Stanford professor who studied the measure, told the outlet. Oh, so in other words, somebody we don't need to be listening to at all because he's an idiot. Any of these Ivy League professors just don't know what they're talking about. They really had the assumption that if you decriminalize, people would come rushing and saying, please give me treatment. But addiction is not like cancer, where people crawl through broken glass to get treatment. Nope, it's not. It's not a disease. It's not a disease. People will tell you that it is, but they are lying. It's being called a disease so that the pharmaceutical companies can make money off of it. That's it. Leaders feel like lab rats. The legislation does seem to be effective in keeping drug users out of the criminal justice system. About 4,000 people were arrested for drug offenses in Oregon in 2022, down from 11,000 in 2020, per the outlet. Max Williams, former director of the Oregon State Prison System, told the Wall Street Journal he's wary that the state will make the right changes to the law. Williams runs a group preparing a measure for next year's ballot that would again make it a crime to possess hard drugs such as fentanyl, but keep the treatment funding intact. There is an old expression that states are the laboratories of democracy, said Williams, but that's sort of distorted when you're not the laboratory, but you are the lab rat. Yeah, and that's the end of that article. Now, before we get to the video, I want to just talk about my stance on this whole legalized, decriminalized drug thing, as I mentioned earlier. Like I said, I was all for it. Makes sense, right? What you do is you eliminate drugs from the black market. You make them only available through a legal healthcare system. The addicts go to the legal healthcare system, say, I need my fix. They get a fix. And then slowly over time, they get less and less of the drug, which you would think would reduce drug use because people, as they use less and less of the drug, they would realize, hey, I've been wasting my life. Maybe I should do something more productive. And they can get into also talk therapy that might guide them into, hey, look, you should probably do something more productive with your life than just wasting it living on the streets under the influence of illegal drugs. So as I got into my late 20s, I was like, yeah, I don't think that was going to work in the United States because the black market is way too strong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me like we would have to do a lot of work to eliminate all of the drugs on the black market and then get these healthcare systems into place. And all of that is like a big task that I don't see anybody working on. And the United States has this whole concept of self-sufficiency, lack of consideration for other people. So they're not going to be really on board with this. I'm going to do something for myself to make myself a better member of society, of civilization. Europe has that notion. It's like, oh, we are all in this together. And it's probably because Europe is so small compared to its population. Right? 1 billion people live in Europe, and it's about the same size as the United States. So there's a lot more people there than there is in the U.S. Now, after I moved to California and I saw hard drug use, I lived with an addict who he would use hard drugs, but he was mostly just like weed and alcohol. But I just saw like, okay, yeah, the United States, the people here really do not care about each other. The people here only want to get their fix. They don't care about doing the right thing. I could sit down and talk to this guy lucidly. Just be like, look, dude, you're not high. You're not drunk right now. Why don't you do something more productive with your life? His father gave him a job. Making under the table money. He was making so much money and he was always broke. It's not that he was like being paid a ton of money, but he didn't have any taxes on that money. Like I said, it was under the table. So he's getting paid pretty well for somebody who wasn't getting taxed at his full-time job. And I'm like, you're making enough money to pay your rent, to pay all your bills, and to buy your food and everything. And yet you are broke all the time. It's because you don't care. You don't care about making your situation better. And that's what you need in this country, which you're not going to get out of states like California. People don't care here. People are just like, I'm going to do what I want to do. Screw you. I'm going to do it. If I want to get high, I'm going to get high. I've known people who are in 12-step program who relapsed all the time. It's ridiculous. People in general who are addicts in the United States, they just want to have that feeling. People want to change their psychology. And the human race has proven that for centuries, for eons, that we want to change the way that we perceive the world. Alcohol, marijuana, cigarettes even, all these things have an effect on how you perceive the world. Now, let's get into the video. The video is even more fun. I really enjoyed the video. Let's take a look here.
This is Portland, Oregon, 2 years after decriminalizing personal amounts of hard drugs. The open drug use, the deaths, worse than ever.
Where are we here now?
This is Skidmore Fountain, which has been called Fentanyl Fountain by some of the folks that we've interacted with.
Police officer David Bayer patrols downtown. Measure 110, the ballot initiative that brought in decriminalization, changed his job.
See this guy right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, watch this.
What's he doing?
He's probably smoking fentanyl. See that?
Yeah.
And we're like, we're in what's basically a police car. It's unmarked, but like, we're pretty obviously the police. Hi there, put that knife away, please. What are you smoking?
Betty.
Okay, just powdered fentanyl?
Yeah.
Is that what you drop right there?
Yeah.
Right there? Can you pick that up so someone else doesn't find it or a kid doesn't find that, please?
Look at that. He's like, pick it up so a kid doesn't find it. That's how much these drugs are all over the place and how much they don't even care. They're just going to drop their fentanyl, just be like, oh, look, cops are here. I'm just going to drop it. Addicts always toss their stash. We're going to see in this video just how inexpensive these drugs are. That's the reason why you're not going to get them off the black market.
Under Measure 110, Bayer writes a $100 ticket. The fine will be waived if this man phones a treatment hotline.
Hey, man. No, number to call in the back for treatment. Right on. Good luck to you.
Do you think he'll call?
Most likely, yeah. About a 50-50 shot, yeah.
So he said he's most likely going to call. There's a 50-50 shot. That's not most likely, but there's only a 50-50 shot he's going to call. I mean, that's only if you want to get clean, though. You want to get clean? You want these services? I mean, what are these people's prospects going to look like? I did all this hard work. I've been doing this for years. I've been clean for years, and I'm making a minimum wage, and I can't even afford to rent my own place. This is crap. I wanna get out of this hell, get back into feeling good, using my drug. It's really simple.
A recent audit found just 1% of people receiving tickets have actually called the hotline.
So they're supposed to report the news. They're not supposed to be emotional about it. So they're reporting like, look, 1% called the hotline. So they're reporting the facts. That's what they're trying to do. No, that article we saw said 1.5%. I said I've seen an article that said 2%. At 1%, they might as well just be saying nobody's called. It doesn't work. But I mean, they got to report the facts. So 1% is what the facts are saying according to them.
Alright, got Narcan on one. Hey, we gotta go. Hey. My partner's calling me, asking for Narcan.
Okay. And that means
Someone's
actively
overdosing. Yeah, you saw asked for it on the radio.
How often does this happen?
Every day.
But still, 2 people a day die from drug overdoses in Oregon. British Columbia's death toll is 3 times that.
So I don't know what the drug situation is in British Columbia. I don't know if it's legal there to use drugs. This is the British Columbia News doing this piece, right? As I recall, that's who's doing, yeah, BCB Radio, Canada. 2 people a day are overdosing in Oregon, or dying from overdosing in Oregon. I mean, that's not very many people. You got millions of people living in Oregon. So, make of that what you will, but there it is. They got these drugs, Narcan, that can stop an overdose from killing you, etc.
Decriminalization hasn't brought those numbers down.
Chase, wake up, buddy. There you go.
So decriminalization has not reduced the number of overdose deaths in the state. That seems weird to me. That if you decriminalize something, keep people from dying. It's just these ridiculous. I call this a half measure. I called it decriminalizing drug a half measure. We could totally go to war with the cartels. I'm not saying that's the best idea, but you want to stop this stuff, cut off the supply, cut off the demand. So you start arresting these people, putting them behind bars, putting them into some sort of system where they can't get their drugs, and then you go after the dealers. This problem solves itself.
Thanks.
Now I can say we used it.
He's gotten Narcan 4 milligrams in the left nostril.
In the first year, opioid overdose deaths rose 52%.
When did you guys last deal with him? Yesterday. Do you guys Narcan him?
So overdose deaths have actually increased under this new rule. Imagine that. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, you make deadly substances legal, people are going to do them more. It used to tell us, I don't know if this is still true, but they used to tell us that Japan has the highest number of suicides in the whole world. Why? Because it's legal. I don't know how that changes things because, I mean, what are they going to do to you if you commit suicide? They're going to put me in prison after I committed suicide. Oh, well, I won't care then, will I?
Yes. Okay. So he's up and off. It's very likely we see him again.
Sad.
Yeah. Yep. And I've known that guy for 3 years, and I've frankly seen his decline because he used to just use meth, and now every day he's out here using fentanyl, and you know, this is the second day in a row we've Narcaned him. We're blocking traffic. Let's get on. Let's get moving here.
A few blocks away, another patrol. Anisha Cochran-Dumas is a recovering addict and peer counselor.
That's a large.
She believes Measure 110 will save lives eventually.
Before, we couldn't afford to come and meet them where they are. Like, hey, we know you using, but we still want to give you something of value to make it through this day.
Everything she's handing out was purchased thanks to Measure 110.
Do you want some panties?
Money from cannabis sales goes to groups serving people with addiction.
And I feel like these people are me because I used to be out here too. This is the park where I used to get high in, you know what I'm saying? And when I come through here and they see me, they know I used to get high here because they used to get high with me. So when they see me, they feel hope. Because they be like, if she can do it, I could do it.
She says getting clean takes.
But the thing is what if they don't want to do it? That's the thing. Most of these people, they don't want to do it. They want to be on their drugs. If you wanted something, you would just do it. That's what I tell you. I mean, if you want it, you'll do it. People can't stop smoking, man. They just can't. They can't. If you want it, you'll do it. You'll white knuckle it. You do whatever you got to do and get through it. But if you don't want it, then you'll give up.
Clean takes time. Paul Stromer tried for decades. He's 9 months sober.
It's all about the individual. I mean, and what they want for themselves. When it comes down to addicts, you can't force them to get clean. They gotta want to do it themselves.
What did I just say? You can't force them. They gotta want it, and if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. It's that simple. You know, I want to speak Russian, not badly enough to practice Russian, so I must not want it. All right, but the way it's going, I mean, we're gonna be speaking Chinese in a couple years, so.
But in Portland's downtown, patience is wearing thin. Paul Watts owns a graffiti cleaning business.
I have the Canadian National News with me.
Oh, hi.
Hey guys,
They're decriminalizing all hard drugs.
don't
In
do
BC.
it.
Yeah, how come?
What do you think?
You tell me.
It enforces it encourages them to do more.
Yeah, are you seeing that happen here?
Seen it.
Yeah.
It's exploded,
Has it, eh?
and it's gotten cheaper.
So there you go. Now you know. They're thinking about decriminalizing all drugs in Canada, and the guy's like, "Don't do it. It just makes things worse." Yeah, you see it. You see the degradation that goes along with it. It's not worth. It's not worth it. I mean, maybe in Canada it'd be different, but I don't think so. I think Canada also has a kind of a spirit of independence like the United States does. Not as strong as the United States probably, but definitely stronger than Europe's spirit of independence. So.
Police see increased demand, increased supply, and Bayer says that could happen in British Columbia too.
We've talked to folks last week that say they're buying for $1 a pill, or they're trading aluminum cans, which are worth 10 cents in Oregon.
Aluminum cans.
I had a guy last week be like, "Oh yeah, like these guys that I buy my drugs from will take cans in exchange for drugs."
That's cheap.
It's extremely cheap, yeah.
Yeah, you see, the black market it's so inexpensive to get these things. The black market is not going anywhere unless you actually violently attack it. You have to eliminate the profits in one way or another. You have to make it not profitable to provide these drugs. So you can do that by arresting people, taking them off the streets, and then they lose their ability to make money. But when they go back out, they can make money again. So that might eat enough of their profits. They're like, this is not even worth it anymore. If you put them away long enough, sure. You have to go after the people who are supplying these drugs to the country. That's another thing. So.
Now, we can't just blame decriminalization for the desperation we saw in Oregon. The law changed right in the middle of the pandemic, just as toxic fentanyl flooded the U.S. Many argue that without Measure 110, Oregon's epidemic may have been worse.
Lindsay, some might be wondering if what's been happening in Oregon is what might happen here in British Columbia. How do the two places compare?
Well, there are some similarities, but there are also significant differences. Oregon doesn't have the same harm reduction services as BC does. No safe injection, no safe supply, although both jurisdictions do currently lack access to timely treatment.
All right, Lindsay, thank you.
So that's the end of that. They want to blame the pandemic for this, and maybe that was a factor. I mean, for me, it wasn't. I felt great on the pandemic. It was awesome. I did not miss any work, and I was paid the entire time. My wife had to shut down her restaurant for 2 weeks, and then she went back to to-go orders only for like a year and a half. So I didn't see a drop in my income at all that whole time. But there were people out there who they lost their jobs and they could not get a replacement job because there's so many limitations on things. So I can understand how that could drive a person to wanting to just give up and give in. But it's up to you to decide to use these drugs. It's like the whole thing with Oxy and the lawsuit that's going on there, and how they're intentionally getting people hooked on Oxy and it's ruining their lives. No, they're not intentionally getting people hooked on Oxy. People are intentionally getting hooked on Oxy under their own volition. I was on Oxy for almost a year, 50 weeks. I was on Oxy. Guess what happened when the pain went away? In fact, you know what? The pain wasn't even gone. I stopped taking it because I'm that much of a dumbass. So I should be like, well, I'll just tough it out. It's fine. I'll live with the pain that I have left for the next few months. It's fine. It's just how I am. Yeah, this is your future, America. The whole country is going to go this way eventually, probably. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it won't happen. But that's what I see in the future. I see decriminalization of drugs in the future. I don't know. That just seems to me the way that the world is going to go. The whole world is going to decriminalize this stuff. Not the whole world, maybe, but at least the Western world is going to decriminalize this stuff. I don't know. Maybe you know more than I do. Maybe you can give me a ray of hope down in the comments. But this seems like, yeah, this is going to be where we end up. So thanks for watching. Now here's your palate cleanser.